Your cat is moving through the room with complete normalcy, and then, without any warning that you can detect, they stop, completely. Every muscle holds still. Their eyes fix on something you cannot identify. Their body becomes a photograph of itself, suspended mid-motion with one paw sometimes still lifted off the ground, breathing shallow, expression unreadable. You look around the room and see nothing. No movement, no sound, no obvious cause for what just happened. And then after several seconds or perhaps half a minute, they resume as if nothing occurred, walking away or settling somewhere as though the freeze never happened at all. Most people find this mildly amusing or vaguely unsettling and leave it at that. But what is happening inside your cat during those seconds of absolute stillness is one of the most sophisticated and psychologically revealing processes in their entire behavioral repertoire. And understanding it will change the way you read your cat in every room of your home. Hello friends, I want to thank everyone who watches this video and supports the channel. Every like, every comment, and every share means more than you think for me and for my dreams. Without delay, let's begin. The freeze response in cats is not a glitch, and it is not confusion, and it is certainly not your cat momentarily forgetting what they were doing. It is a precisely coordinated neurological event that represents one of three core responses available to an animal facing perceived uncertainty or potential threat. Behavioral scientists describe these as the fight, flight, and freeze triad, and while most people are familiar with the first two, the freeze tends to receive far less attention despite being in many ways the most cognitively interesting of the three. Freezing is not the absence of a response. It is a specific response actively generated by the nervous system that serves a distinct and sophisticated purpose. Your cat is not doing nothing when they freeze. They are doing something that requires the coordinated suppression of all voluntary movement, while simultaneously elevating sensory intake to its maximum possible level. The neurological mechanism underlying the freeze involves the rapid release of specific neurotransmitters that simultaneously inhibit motor output and heighten perceptual sensitivity. In practical terms, this means that the moment your cat freezes, their hearing becomes more acute, their visual processing sharpens toward motion detection, and their olfactory system intensifies its analysis of the surrounding chemical environment. They have essentially converted the energy that was going into movement into sensory processing. The stillness is not emptiness. It is concentration of the most complete kind available to them, and the thing they are concentrating on is information, gathering as much of it as possible about whatever their system flagged as worth investigating before committing to any further action. This is where the behavior becomes genuinely fascinating from a cognitive standpoint. The freeze buys time. In an environment where movement can either reveal your position to a predator or alert potential prey to your presence, stillness is strategically superior to any other response during the critical window between detecting something and determining what it is. A cat that freezes at an ambiguous input is a cat that has correctly identified the moment as one requiring more information before action becomes appropriate. They are not paralyzed, they are deciding. And the freeze is the behavioral expression of that decision-making process, held externally visible in the suspension of their body while the internal evaluation runs its course. Think about a specific scenario that most cat owners have encountered. You are sitting on the couch in the evening, and your cat is walking across the room toward their usual spot near the window. Halfway there, they stop. They are not looking at you, and they are not looking at the window. They are looking at a point in the middle distance that appears to hold nothing of interest. Their ears have rotated slightly forward and to the side. Their tail, which was moving loosely behind them as they walked, has gone still. You watch them for 15 or 20 seconds, and then they shake their head slightly, as if clearing something, and continue to the window as if nothing interrupted them. What your cat detected in that moment, you will never know. It may have been an ultrasonic frequency produced by something in the walls that lies entirely outside human hearing range. It may have been a micro-vibration in the floor from a vehicle passing several houses away. It may have been a scent particle that arrived through a gap in the window frame from somewhere in the yard outside. Your cat's sensory systems are so much more sensitive than ours that the catalogue of things they can detect which are entirely invisible to us is genuinely vast. Here is the insight that tends to shift people's understanding most significantly. The threshold at which a cat initiates a freeze is not fixed. It varies considerably based on the cat's current emotional baseline, the familiarity of the environment, the state of the relationship with the people in the household, and the accumulated sensory history that the cat has built up over time in this specific space. A cat that is generally relaxed and emotionally settled in their home will have a higher threshold for initiating a freeze, meaning it takes a more significant or unusual input to trigger the response. A cat that is carrying chronic low-level stress, or that is in an environment where the sensory landscape feels unpredictable, will have a lower threshold, freezing more frequently and for longer periods in response to inputs that a more settled cat would process and dismiss without visible behavioral interruption. This means that the frequency of your cat's freeze behavior is actually a useful window into their general state of emotional regulation. A cat that freezes rarely and recovers quickly when they do is a cat whose nervous system is operating from a relatively settled baseline. A cat that freezes often, or that takes a long time to resume normal behavior after a freeze, may be a cat whose baseline level of environmental alertness is elevated, possibly because something in their world is generating consistent low-level uncertainty. That something is not always dramatic or obvious. It can be a new scent from outside that they have not been able to identify and catalog. It can be an irregular sound from a neighboring apartment. It can be a change in household routine that has shifted the predictability of their daily environment in ways too subtle for their owner to notice, but entirely legible to a sensory system as refined as theirs. The relationship between freeze behavior and trust in the home environment is worth understanding carefully. Research into how domestic cats respond to environmental stressors has shown that cats living in stable, predictable, socially secure environments recover from freeze and startle responses significantly faster than cats in less settled conditions. The recovery speed, the time between the triggering input and the cat resuming normal behavior, is a direct behavioral indicator of how quickly the cat's nervous system can downregulate from an elevated state back to its resting baseline. And the speed of that downregulation is heavily influenced by the degree to which the cat has internalized the message that their environment and the people in it can be trusted to be consistent. A cat that trusts their home recovers quickly because the freeze concluded with a threat assessment of nothing confirmed, and nothing confirmed in a trusted environment means normal can resume. The environment's track record of being safe overrides the momentary uncertainty. Imagine two cats in two different homes who both freeze at the same type of sound. A car door closing loudly outside. The first cat, in a stable home with a calm owner and a consistent routine, freezes for roughly 10 seconds, completes their sensory evaluation, determines nothing within their immediate environment has changed, and resumes walking toward their food bowl. The second cat, in a home with less predictable daily rhythms and more frequent unexpected stimuli, freezes for over a minute, retreats to under the bed, and does not emerge for 20 minutes. Same trigger, dramatically different responses, not because the second cat is more fearful by nature, but because the environmental history that shapes their threat assessment is different. The first cat has accumulated enough evidence that unexpected sounds in this house do not predict bad outcomes. The second cat has not yet built that same library of reassuring experience. The freeze itself is identical neurologically. What differs is the context into which the cat's nervous system is making its evaluation. This is where the bond between a cat and their owner becomes directly relevant to something that most people would never connect to their relationship. The consistency of your behavior, the steadiness of your routines, the degree to which your presence in the home feels the same from one day to the next, directly influences the speed and ease with which your cat recovers from freeze events. You are not just a source of food and comfort, you are an environmental anchor. And the depth of the trust your cat has developed in you functions as a kind of neurological buffer, a resource that their system draws on during the evaluation phase of a freeze to help determine how alarmed to remain. A cat that trusts you deeply has access to a library of evidence that says, unusual inputs in this environment have always resolved safely. And that library accelerates recovery in a way that no amount of comforting after the fact can fully replicate. So when your cat freezes next time, and they will resist the impulse to interpret it as strangeness or dysfunction, what you are watching is a nervous system doing precisely what it was shaped to do, pausing in the face of uncertainty, gathering every available piece of information, and making the most accurate threat assessment it is capable of before deciding what comes next. It is not confusion. It is not malfunction. It is an extraordinarily refined perceptual system briefly making itself visible through the window of stillness. And when they unfreeze, when they shake it off and walk calmly to their spot on the couch and settle there with the easy confidence of a creature that has decided everything is fine, what they are expressing, without any way to say it, is that the world they are living in still makes sense to them, that the assessment came back clear, that the place they are in and the person they share it with passed the test they did not know they were running. The freeze was never about fear alone. It was about trust being verified, one quiet moment of stillness at a time. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help me achieve my life dream. Because at the end of the day, my friend, we both love cats. And goodbye.